our debts, it is even worse when the shilling has fallen so low, because it means then, you remember even one time, Kenya shilling was 80 per dollar. Now you can see and that's the time we borrowed largely. So you can see when we have to pay back now and you exchange the dollar, we are in real trouble. So how do we get out of this trouble? The government has to get serious. We have to stabilize the cost of living in the country. We have to make Kenyans are very hardworking, but they are not getting value for their hard work. We want small businesses to thrive again. We want the hustler nation to live. The hustler nation cannot breathe. The hustler nation is unable to trade anymore. And there is only a little bit of, cheap talk and easy talk. That's not how the nation is going to grow again. Our relationship with the neighbors are extremely important. We trade with Uganda. We trade with Rwanda. We trade with Tanzania. When our planes cannot land in Tanzania, there is real trouble. Our shilling will fall down further. When Uganda is taking us to court, it means our shilling will fall down further. So the current government has to take action. And what I'm really urging Kenyans, because there are very many brilliant Kenyans, they have to think straight now. We should no longer think tribal. You know, when somebody very important, like the deputy president, is not in some talks where everybody else has come with their deputy, that gives you a very serious political direction. And when the politics go wrong, the shilling go wrong further.
Now you want to manage the diaries of the president and the deputy president.
And Dibal, as we are closing that subject,
yes.
First,
these guys are very interested.
First, Honorable Kenan should not challenge us to disclose what information we have when the regime is supporting has all that information. The G2G oil deal is a deal that they have purposefully refused to disclose. And all that you hear is that now they are going to terminate, and then you hear statements from Treasury that even that termination was contemplated within the agreement. Let them disclose that agreement. It's not in Bunge, it's not in Parliament. Secondly, the role of Parliament in providing oversight right now is overrated because the executive has overrun Parliament. They have, they have poached even people like Honorable Kenan, who at all material times within the law are supposed to be in the opposition, in the minority. They have poached them to their side, and now they have some super majority, such that anything that comes to Parliament has become a rubber stamp. I can tell you for a fact that Parliament is a rubber stamp, and as Independent Honorable Kenan says, he has never uttered any single word against any proposal by this regime that has come to Parliament since we came back. You know, that is the definition of a rubber stamp. Lastly, you know, we need to really rethink, because there are certain policies that we are adopting, like Senator Manzo was talking about the Finance Act, which was the finance bill. A lot of the harmful proposals in that bill were actually not even originated by this regime, but it was imposed on them. It was put as a condition to continue getting all sorts of support from the Bretton Woods institution and some of our other foreign, governments. But they are harmful to the ordinary Mwananchi. It is time we stopped adopting things that are harmful to our citizens merely because they've been proposed. Some years back, there was the structural adjustment programs that were really imposed, on many countries, including ours, by the Bretton Woods institution, and everyone kept saying how those things were good, until we had to reject them because they were extremely harmful. And such policies are actually quite evident in the current Finance Act and in the current actions by this regime. That is part of the problem that we're having.
Honorable Kenan, you wanted to have a rejoinder on that?
Yes.
Before we gravitate the issue of counties.
The way Parliament works, and I want to remind my friend here was part of the making of the current constitution, provisions of Article 125. And I will read. And he should tell us whether really he has invoked that provision to ask for the documentary evidence instead of engaging in propaganda. It says, either House of Parliament and any of its committees, that's Article 125, either House of Parliament on any of its committees has the power to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing information. 2, it says for the purpose of this clause 1, a House of Parliament and any of its committees has the same powers as the High Court. In what? To enforce the attendance of witnesses and examine them on oath, affirmation or otherwise. 2, to compel the production of documents. And 3, to issue commission or request to examine the witness abroad. You have the power. Have you asked for it? Why are you engaged in propaganda? Why don't you use the parliamentary facilities to interrogate the government instead of just coming every day in propaganda? Hello. Where are the alternative reports? There's only one member that I will really commend from the opposition. And first of all, that is the Honorable Kaluma. Recently, during the debate on Haiti, he wrote and tabled his dissenting report. Where these are, and that's a great parliamentarian. So I think let's apply our mandates effectively, properly, instead of engaging, even in committees where you are the minority. I'll say this as a parliamentary practitioner. You have every right to come up with a minority report. That minority report must be informed by the information that you think is not being captured in the main report. Where is it? We have groups here. That's the way Parliament works. As to what I support and what I do, I'll always be guided and by what I think is good. And we as Jubilee have refused to be part of the suckers of the group. And you know, very soon we are expecting my friend Kalonzo to think out of the box and say he's also an independent party. I'm sure that's the route they're taking you. Get ready. In the next 6 months, because Papa has now decided to go for the 6th term.
So there's poaching in the offing. You agree that there's poaching. So is it poaching you're talking about?
What do you mean poaching? We are functioning. You know, I have a lot of faith in him. I really respect him. We have exited that Azimio coalition as a party. We have sought recognition. We got that recognition. We'll function. If the opposition comes up with, if Azimio comes up with something that is constructive, devoid of propaganda, we'll support. I'll be the first one to support. But if you're engaged in petty day-to-day propaganda, and the end result is something that will bulge the pockets of individuals, why will I be party? Why will I be used?
Let me help Honorable Kenan.
I think you need to get that, because I know you're not in the mainstream.
I want to help
Let me finish. You don't need to assist me. Yeah. You're not in the mainstream of the decision makers of Azimio. And that's why they have denied you every opportunity to be a member of a very good committee, because your brains are liability actually is a threat to their existence. But that being the case,
Honorable Kenan is hoping to poach me. Me, I'm an poacher.
Because you see, I sat in all I sat in all organs of ODM. I know the thinking. I know the players. That's why my friend here will never rise beyond being a member of
Justice.
A member of
Justice.
No, the constituency. Your
Radiator.
Very brainy. But that's been the case. That's why you will have a problem. My friend here, Mwanzo, is a good student of his party leader. He can oscillate, do this and this. But that being the case, my friend, we are here on national TV.
Thank you.
We are on national TV.
You must
Let's get facts. Let's get facts. You have had a lot of time. Let's get the facts. We are not going to criticize the government purely on propaganda. Bring facts, and I can tell you, if you bring facts that the G2G process was abused against the interests of the people of Kenya, I'll be the first one to second you.
Right, thank you.
But as long as it's propaganda, I'll not be party to it.
Thank you.
That's why I want to help you. You are taking us to Article 125. You don't need to go to Article 125. All you need to go to is Article 35. And it's not about a member of parliament. It's about the public. Under Article 35, it is very clear that every citizen has the right to access information held by the state. And more importantly, even if you avoid 2 and you come to 3, the state shall publish and publicize any important information affecting the nation. The G2G is important information affecting the nation that everyone has been demanding to see. You don't need to go to parliament, I don't know, someone, you just need to invoke Article 35, which is very clear. What is difficult about publicizing that G2G deal so that we avoid the speculation? That's all you need to do. Secondly, when you talk of the debate on Haiti, it's a perfect example of why parliament does not work. We have sent policemen to Haiti. That motion came to parliament. The speaker, the deputy speaker who was sitting, made sure there was no debate. Only 6 people contributed, including the chair of the committee. Of those 6, 4 of them were already in the committee. They had appended their signatures in support. And so 2 of them came from the other side where the majority sits. They sat with us on the minority, and they were given the opportunity to speak. Some of us who came there very early and prepared to speak did not even get a chance. After only 6 people spoke, all of them in favor, there's only one person who was allowed to speak, Opio and I, only. And then they say, put the question. We have become so robotic that we cannot even debate. You cannot allow, and if you watch that debate, you will see that I was so annoyed. I had already prepared to speak. I even put a point of order, suggesting that on important debates like that, you cannot invoke Standing Order 95 to say that put the question. You must allow Kenyans to understand the pros and cons of sending our policemen to Haiti. That did not happen. And that's how this parliament works now. Anything that the executive wants, they will be called to a parliamentary group meeting. They will be told, you pass this finance bill, you pass this motion. When they come to parliament, they don't come to debate. They come to put the question. That's not how parliament is supposed to work. And lastly, I understand Honorable Kenan, because having been poached, I think he's hoping that he can also poach others. But let me just tell him that some of us are unpoachable. I have no problem with the committees I serve. I have no problem with my party. And so do not purport to speak for me. If I had any problem, I would speak for myself.
But I think there's something that he said. I want to remind him. You see, I will not use the word that he's naive. But maybe he's innocent about the parliamentary politics. You see, ODM and cohorts, as the Azimio group, as they call themselves, have the numbers to force a division. What happened on that particular day? Their leader, as per the standing orders, made his contributions and walked out. Where are the usual choruses of that Azimio, if truly they were opposed?
But what was it? What was it?
No,
denied a chance if he wanted to make a
He's
contribution.
let me say, he's speaking as a member. But if the leadership of Azimio wanted to oppose and even force a division to demonstrate the number of members who are opposed to that particular report, they will have had it. Their leader, let me say this.
Could he be walking out in protest because...
The leader was an accomplice. He was supporting the report. But he also played to the public gallery. Let's be honest. What I will refuse, and I urge my good friends here to refuse to be used in the broad daylight. The leadership was supporting the report, but they never wanted to come out in the open.
But Honorable Kenan, let me butt in. This is not the first time that we're hearing from some of the legislators of the frustrations they've been having on the floor of the House, especially when it comes to debate and putting the question.
You can involve...
Many of the legislators here have alluded to that fact, that the quality of debate and the freedom even just to debate on the floor of the House
that's not the subject
is totally denied to the opposition.
What is the subject of discussion? The party can even designate a member to speak on a particular issue and pass that to the speaker and say, look, on this topical issue, we anoint or we delegate Honorable Otienda Molo to speak on this.
That does not work.
The leader of minority can do the same. The leader because
not.
we have a very accommodative, very generous standing orders that takes into account that if really a particular party, and you only need the numbers, does not subscribe to a particular issue, and you realize the person who's on the chair, it can be the speaker, the deputy speaker, or the speaker's panel, is of different view, you can also force a division by just raising that.
There's something called Standing Order 95. Mm-hmm. Under that standing order, any member can stand on a point of order and say, by reading the mood of the House, you should put the question. And usually what happens,
and another member can oppose.
Hold on. The speakers are usually part of the game. Yeah. So they allow that member to say, put the question. Then you say, if that's the mood of the House, then you put the question, and that's how it passes. Ideally, even the idea of giving a list of members, in fact, if you want the speaker not to give you an opportunity, give the indication in advance that you want to speak on something, especially that you are going to oppose. Now you will not get that opportunity. And unfortunately, our style is such that the only person who knows you want to talk is you and the speaker. Because it's only the speaker who can see you've requested. Everyone else would not know, and you will not get. I am telling you, Debal, it is so unfortunate, and if Kenan was being honest, he would at least admit this, that the way we have come to run parliament is no longer a house of debate or reason. It is a house which is used as a vehicle to pass anything that the executive wants, period. You will not get any meaningful debates if you go to the Hansard because the debates are being killed. You are in danger of saying something that might put some of them to change their mind. So you just don't get the opportunity on those very issues.
How come it is diametrically different in the Senate when it comes to this debate? Are you experiencing the same challenges as well?
The same challenge. You know, Parliament is supposed to be independent and supposed to debate matters conclusively. But there is usually a collusion within, the government ranks in the House, so that they curtail debate. Unfortunately, when the election was over, Azimio had majority in numbers in both houses. But after Kainan was purged, the numbers went down. And therefore, the executive...
After you took the
So now what has happened is that there is a majority, and unlike the American Parliament, Congress, whereby the majority is the opposition, you see that controls and checks a government completely. We had an opportunity to check this government thoroughly, and the Parliament is no longer playing its role. In fact, only the executive is running the government. And that's the most unfortunate. And that's why we find ourselves in this chaos. Because you see, the brains of others no longer count. You are finding we are in the chaos of a bad finance bill, an illegal finance bill, which the court even has difficulties trying to correct. And the economic crisis has actually originated from State House, through Parliament, through the courts. So that you have a country which is a capture. And any other person's good brain, like Kainan's good brain. Kainan has always checked the government in all the years I was with him in the National Assembly. Even when he was a commissioner, or even when he was in the side of government, when it came to a policy which was wrong, he will debate and sway people, and the vote he will change. But that is no longer happening in the Senate, no longer happening in National Assembly. That's why we have the killing finance bill. And the finance bill is really on the necks of Kenyans, and we can no longer breathe. And it is a very big trouble. That's why the shilling is down. And unless now Kenyans get a revolution in their minds, first of all, to come and vote rightly in the next election, and vote out Kainani and the company, then this country is going to be on a downtrend for a long time.
Mm-hmm. There's something, you just need to look at, Parliament is a house of traditions, house of rules. If you listen to my friends here, it's like they have a problem with everything else other than themselves. They have a problem with the legislature. They have a problem with the speaker. They have a problem. They have a problem. They have a problem with the president. They have a problem with the CJ. They have, truly speaking, and these are two great minds. If you look at Article 108, Article 108 clearly provides for the leadership. It says there shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party in equal measure. Mm-hmm. Okay, the leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader of the National Assembly of the largest party or coalitions of parties. The leader of minority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the second largest party or coalition of parties. And in terms of precedence, hierarchy, it says the following order of precedence shall be observed. In fact, there was an omission of the deputy speaker. I don't know whether you realize that. There's an omission of the speaker, the deputy speaker. It says the speaker, the leader of majority, the leader of minority. If a particular party, being a parliamentary party like Jubilee, wanted a particular episode to be acknowledged in Parliament, there's a way. Some of these things that you see, the issues are friends, and I accept the honesty. I will not use the word naivety because these are members who are well informed. But I think to the extent of the party politics in Azimio or Elewi, there are two levels. What is emanating from Azimio? One is meant for the public gallery. The other one is meant for individual aggrandizement. What is the individual aggrandizement is what informs the decision made. If truly the leadership of the minority party wanted certain particular things to be phenomenal, they have every platform, every opportunity. But simply because they want to play to the public gallery, they want to make actually a gain twice. Gain through propaganda, but also achieve their own internal mechanism. And that politics of hypocrisy is what personally I not subscribe to. And I want to challenge every report, whether it's a parliamentary committee, whether it's this, come up with a minority report. If it's a legislation, come up with a minority legislation platform. If it's a budget, come with a budget proposal based on minority view. If it's a committee report, once you do that, people will see the maturity in our politics. But when in the evening you want to cut deals, during the broad daylight in funerals, you want to bash the government, my friend, that era of being used is long gone. I will not subscribe to that.
Right.
For me, my position is this.
I can see the pinch for time. Yes.
This is the Jubilee position. Right. Jubilee as the third largest party in the National Assembly will stand for fairness, objectivity, transparency, accountability, adherence to the rule of law, and political openness. Not conmanship, not blackmail, not threats, and that is what we have refused to associate ourselves with.
Thank you.
So Jubilee as a parliamentary party, my colleagues, wherever you are, remain firm,
Actually,
support what is good.
Right. You know, that is the beginning of corruption. Corruption is not just the exchange of money. There's something that is called political corruption. When Jubilee led everyone to believe that they're in Azimio, and they signed the Azimio manifesto by law, and up to date they have not withdrawn by law, but they accept to be poached and join the government side without seeking a fresh mandate from the people, that is corruption. Because if Honorable Kenan is courageous, by the time he was being elected, he was elected because he was associated with Azimio and our leader Raila Amolo Odinga. Now that he has chosen to work with the UDA regime, he should have the courage to go back to the people and tell them, I have changed. Now elect me. Then he'll be flawed. That is political corruption.
You see, I like the way he says. I like the way he says. In the last parliament, he was bewhipped from being a member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
Yes.
At that juncture, I was waiting for the true Otieno Amolo to say, I'm done with ODM, I'm done with parliament.
No.
He went and apologized through the back door, and he was given a direct ticket. You see, politics. For me, I'll say this. My history, I have never required Raila's support or assistance or association to be elected. If anything, supporting Raila was a liability in my conscience. That I will tell you, and I will say openly. It's a liability. If anything, he was gaining more from my association with him. But Jubilee haven't been duped, haven't been conned. My friend here, you're a good lawyer, and I know you are a good human being. You know what they did to us. Actually, they were on a revenge mission. Proudly, we sought to move from the yoke of subjugation, blackmail, intimidation, and to be recognized as a parliamentary party. There we are. Persuade us on issues that will add value to the well-being of the people. And I can tell you, I will whip our members to support something that is good. But on propaganda machinations, I will not support. On issues that are meant to cut deals in the evening and during daytime, purport to be with the public, they have done it from 92. They have done it in 97. They have done it in 2002. And the different plans, they have been mutating. Every election, 92, 97, 2002, 2007, 2013, 2020, and now they are doing it in a different form, my friend. For how long? We are getting old now.
Right. Okay, let me come to Honorable Otieno and ask you also as well. Given the tackiness that you can see, especially on the debate on the floor of the House, and the unfairness that you've actually also expressed frustrations here, what stops you from amending this standing order?
The problem is not the standing orders. The problem is parliamentary leadership in this sense.
But are they taking advantage of the standing orders, like the 95?
Let me explain. The standing orders have never been different, even from previous. Even in the worst days of tyranny by President Moi, at least Parliament and parliamentarians were still allowed the space to debate. And that's why when you talk of the seven bearded sisters, they may not have had the space out there, but within Parliament, they had that space. And it depends on parliamentary leadership. The Speaker, although elected by members of Parliament, is not supposed to be openly partisan. And that goes for the Deputy Speaker and the others. Our problem in this particular regime, both in the Senate and the National Assembly, is that for the first time, the speakers are highly partisan, and that's the problem. You just need speakers who become less partisan. You will remember Marende in his days, even though he came from our side, he made an endeavor to be quite neutral. Even when Kibaki and Raila had issues, he made decisions which were called Solomonic. Now, you need...
Let him finish. Let him finish.
If you have a parliamentary leadership that accepts that there's a majority and a minority, and that the majority may have their way, but you need to have the minority have their say, then we would not have that problem. Standing Order 95, which is constantly used to stifle debate, the Speaker has a discretion to reject it. The Speaker can say, no, on the nature of this discussion, let us hear more members, or I'll allocate 4 hours or 5 hours to discuss this. It's at the discretion of the Speaker. So the curtailing of debate is usually with the consent of the person sitting as speaker. So the problem is not the standing orders. The standing orders are liberal enough. We just need a change of mind so that even if the executive has poached people like Honorable Kainan, and now they have a super majority, and they will have their way, let those of us who are unpoachable have their say.
Dan Mwanzo, with a light touch. Dan Mwanzo, have you heard what he said about the Solomonic ruling by the Honorable Marende? Yes. And what your then leader, the Honorable Kalonzo, had to say on the floor of the House? Do I need to repeat it?
No, you don't need to repeat it.
So is it repeated?
What is the practice now is that at times, what is the practice that I've been in the House for many years? What is the times is that at times, you know, the basis of raising under Order 95 is when people are repeating themselves, or there is nothing much, because in a parliamentary debate you are not supposed to repeat what others have said. You are supposed to come up with new ideas. Now, in a very important topic, you cannot have 6 people out of 300, almost 400 people, and you say you have already picked the brains. Ordinarily, there is collusion. After that has been raised, there is a voting, a quick one, whether we should stop debate or not, and that is already stage managed. So then you are having a captured House, a captured Speaker, and a captured nation. And it's a high time the nation removed itself from this capture through the next vote. You know, Kenyans now must be sensitized enough that you are not going to vote tribally, you are not going to vote for nasty people, people with a bad attitude, people who want to misrule the country. We must now vote balanced people, the thinking of Kibaki ideology that can revive a nation. When Kibaki was elected, immediately the shilling gained against the dollar, and the next day he said, we have work to do. We are not going to go to the past. We are not going to blame Moi and his regime. Let's begin work now. And the nation changed. But what we have now, we are tyrannic leaders, people issuing statements without proper consultations, people threatening to invade the judiciary, and then they are also conned by being told we are having a discussion tomorrow, so don't go and intimidate the judiciary. Then the same deputy president, he's not even in that meeting where he's supposed to be laying his claim. So you see, we are having a dishonest leadership. We want honest leadership for Kenyans so that now we can stop these big troubles we are going through. The sinking shilling and the dishonesty even be taught to children. You can imagine if Parliament no longer exists, for how long will this run, and when will we retrieve our nation from dishonest leadership?
Right, let's get to our headline thoughts, unless you have but prepare your headline thoughts briefly, yeah? But headline thoughts, we're winding up.
You see, these are well-grounded, seasoned parliamentarians. And it's not good to abuse our own process. If really any particular party, in particular now the Azimio, wanted to have a mark on a particular parliamentary process, even where the speaker is partisan, or the person in the chair is partisan, there is a way. You can invoke the standing orders, force a division. Their numbers allow them, in particular in the National Assembly, they have more numbers, twice actually, that form the basis actually for division. You have never seen that being applied. Who is being compromised? Just listen to this. Listen to this.
Kainan is the one who used to force this. He's gone.
Listen. You duped him and it's gone. Listen to this. You have a problem with your leadership. You have a problem with your leadership because how comes it's only Otiendo Amolo out of 100 something members who is around to force the opposition-oriented, opposition-placed, opposition-centered changes on that particular report. I think to be fair.
Let Kainan come back.
To be fair, he will never come back to Azimio in his life. You see the bit that these people require. And that's why all parliamentary leaders, regardless of whether they're in the opposition or government, are facilitated the same way. The same facilitation given to Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah is the same facilitation Parliament gives, actually equal. And that was my product as a member of PNC. Why doesn't the leader or minority invoke the same thing, use the same facilities, and force the opposition position?
We need to wind up.
Because what they do and what they say are completely different.
And
rise up, Otiendo Amolo, occupy your true position.
Thank you.
That resonates with your great brains.
Orbokeno, thank you. Otiendo Amolo, your closing remarks.
My sympathy goes out to Kenyans. Life is becoming unbearable in every conceivable way. this regime needs to rethink and not focus its money in poaching people like Kenan and focus its energy in reducing the cost of living by consultation and accommodation.
He did.
Yes, my sincere, condolences to the family of Rita Waini from Makueni, and I'm hoping that this is largely promoted by harsh economic times. It's a high time, the country got in charge of, the leadership got in charge of the country. We want a serious prosecution against the killers of Waini, and we want a situation whereby no more Kenyans will perish through this carelessness. But most important, children and the young people to be more keen and also to prepare for the future of redeeming this nation through the vote.
Yeah, Kenan, you had given your closing remarks, right?
No.
Okay, briefly, 10 seconds.
I think what I want to say is that we have a very progressive society, highly informed, highly resilient. I want to urge the government to put every measure possible to reduce the cost of living. I want to also ask my friends in the opposition to be very progressive, patriotic opposition leaders, not parochial, not petty, so that all of us consciously and collectively contribute to the well-being and national development of the people of Kenya.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we hope that also the monies, the equitable revenue share will be released soon, the 8 billion shillings. The counties are facing crisis right now. It seems there is a cash flow issue in the country, as it were. Thank you very much for your valued company. Don't go away. We have news.